He walked barefoot onto the stage, his shirt 2 sizes too big, hair uncombed, eyes full of fear and fire. The judges exchanged doubtful glances. Some in the audience even chuckled. But then this poor Filipino boy opened his mouth and sang Hotel California with such aching beauty that time seemed to freeze. By the final note, the judges were crying, and one shattered the golden buzzer like never before. You're watching Storytelling and Beyond, where every story is a journey of hope, heart, and humanity. Don't forget to subscribe for more life-changing tales. The grand studio of Asia's Global Voice was glowing with 1,000 spotlights, buzzing with high-profile guests, stylists in headsets, and contestants with sleek costumes. The audience clapped mechanically as one act ended and the next name was called out by the announcer. Contestant 147. Miguel Rivera, from San Mateo. Nothing happened at first. Then a small figure shuffled slowly from behind the curtain. A hush swept over the room. He looked like he didn't belong there. A bony boy, barefoot, dusty knees, a faded sky blue shirt buttoned wrong, and his hair falling into his big, timid eyes. He stood just beside the mic stand, blinking at the blinding lights. Judge Ramon leaned over to the others, whispering, "Are we seriously allowing kids off the street now?" Another judge, Alina Cruz, gave him a look. "Let's just see what he's got." The host walked up gently, crouched near him with the mic. "Hey there, what's your name, sweetheart?" "Miguel. Miguel Rivera," he whispered. "And how old are you, Miguel?" 11. "You came all by yourself?" A short nod. Then his eyes welled up. "I don't have anyone, not anymore. I sing to eat." A few murmurs broke out in the audience. Some uncomfortable, some sympathetic. Miguel gripped the mic tightly. "And what will you sing for us today?" the host asked kindly. Miguel lifted his chin. "Hotel California." Even the cameras paused for a second. It was an ambitious choice. The pianist gave a questioning glance toward the director, who gave the go-ahead. As the iconic intro began, Miguel adjusted the mic, then closed his eyes. And then, he sang. Not just words. Not just melody. But soul. Raw, aching, pure. On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair. His voice was soft at first, almost fragile, like a whisper to the stars. But it swelled, gliding effortlessly over the tune, carrying every syllable with a grief far too deep for his years. You could hear his hunger. His hope. His memories. You could feel his father, the streets, the loneliness. Judge Alina gasped softly. In row 4, someone covered her mouth with her hands, trembling. Miguel sang the chorus like it was his anthem. Welcome to the Hotel California, such a lovely place. Tears rolled down his cheeks, but he didn't break. His voice only got stronger. By the bridge, Judge Ramon, who hadn't cried in 30 seasons, was wiping his face under the table. The final verse echoed like a lullaby from a broken heaven. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. Then silence. The kind of silence where hearts beat loud. Where no one knows what to say. Until... Bang. Judge Alina slammed her palm on the golden buzzer with a shout that cracked with emotion. That's enough. He's a star. Golden confetti burst from the ceiling in slow motion. The crowd erupted like thunder. People were standing, cheering, screaming. But Miguel? He just stood there. Frozen. Eyes wide. Hands shaking. He had never seen golden confetti in real life. He had never had people clap for him, not once. Not when he sang in alleys. Not when he sang for coins at bus stops. And now, a stage full of love. Judge Alina ran up the steps, arms out. Miguel stumbled into her hug, tears pouring, nose running. The audience didn't care. You were born for this, she whispered. You just made the whole world believe in magic again. Somewhere backstage, a sound engineer whispered, This is going viral in 5 minutes. The screen faded to black with the words. Golden buzzer activated, Miguel Rivera advances to grand showcase. And the legend of the Barefoot Boy had just begun. Miguel sat alone in the small waiting room behind the stage, staring at his trembling hands. Golden confetti still clung to his curls and the folds of his shirt like stars that refused to leave him. But he wasn't smiling. He was stunned. A soft knock on the door interrupted his daze. It creaked open slowly. Miguel? It was Alina, the judge who'd hit the golden buzzer. She stepped in without her high heels, barefoot like him. I just wanted to see how you're feeling, she said gently, crouching beside him. Miguel hesitated. Was that real? Alina smiled. Very real, sweetheart. You moved the world today. His lip quivered. No one's ever clapped for me before. Back home, they just tell me to shut up. Alina's eyes welled up. Today, millions listened. And they won't stop listening. From the hallway, loud voices echoed, producers, stylists, PR managers scrambling to organize his sudden rise. The golden buzzer had already sent waves through social media. The official clip of his performance had crossed 1 million views in under an hour. Everyone wanted to know who the Barefoot Boy with the golden voice was. Backstage, the crew gathered in a small circle watching the clip again. One camera assistant whispered, "Did you see how he held that note? My God, I had goosebumps." Meanwhile, the show's executive producer Lena Reyes was pacing near her office with a tablet in hand, scrolling through comments. This boy is what music is all about. I haven't cried like this in years. Someone find him a home. Now. She turned to her assistant. Double his screen time in the next episode. Cancel the pre-recorded segments. Miguel is the show now. Back in the dressing room, a young stylist entered, holding a shoebox. I brought these, she said, gently placing it beside Miguel. They're your size. Try them on? Miguel shook his head shyly. I've never worn real shoes before. The stylist knelt down and smiled. Then let these be the first pair you wear, not to run, but to rise. She slipped them on his feet gently. They fit perfectly. For the first time in hours, Miguel smiled faintly. In another corner of the dressing area, a voice coach named Tito Ben watched quietly. He'd trained hundreds of contestants, but something about this boy tugged at him deeply. He stepped forward slowly. Miguel, if it's all right with you, I'd like to help you prepare for your next song. We'll rehearse together. No pressure. Miguel looked up, unsure. But I can't read music, or words much. Ben knelt beside him. Then we'll teach each other. One note at a time. Outside, the host was being interviewed by a major news channel. I've seen a lot of amazing acts, he said, but that boy. Miguel? That wasn't just a performance. That was a prayer. A prayer wrapped in sound. That evening, a brief segment was aired across national news channels showing Miguel holding a bowl of soup, seated quietly backstage, while a producer whispered something to him. The subtitle read, "This 11-year-old orphan from San Mateo just reminded the world what true talent sounds like." In Manila, a group of street kids huddled outside an electronics store, watching the clip of Miguel on a muted TV screen in the window. One of the kids leaned in close. "That's him," he whispered. "The kid who used to sing by the overpass." They stared in awe. Some were smiling. Others, crying. Back at the studio, Miguel stepped into the rehearsal room with Ben. He took a deep breath, then whispered, "Do you think my papa saw me tonight?" Ben rested a hand on his shoulder. "I don't know where he is, Miguel, but wherever he is, I promise you, he's proud." Miguel walked over to the microphone, shoes on his feet now, voice still uncertain, but spirit starting to grow. He stood tall, took a breath, and sang the first line of Fix You by Coldplay, his next piece. Ben's jaw dropped. The golden buzzer had changed his life. But it was Miguel's heart that would change the world. The soft hum of a string quartet filled the backstage area of Asia's Global Voice. It was the semi-final night, and the energy inside the auditorium was electrifying. Contestants paced nervously in glittering outfits, sipping water, checking mirrors, whispering affirmations. But one room down the corridor remained unusually quiet. Miguel sat cross-legged on the carpet, eyes closed, earphones in, softly mouthing the lyrics to his chosen song, Fix You by Coldplay. He wasn't wearing anything flashy, just a crisp, fitted white shirt with rolled sleeves and a soft blue scarf, gifted by Alina. His new shoes were clean, but he still missed the feeling of the ground beneath his feet. And yet, there was something different about him now. Confidence. Tito Ben, his voice coach, peeked in. Ready? Miguel opened his eyes slowly, exhaled, and nodded. As they walked toward the stage entrance, Alina waited at the hallway corner. She crouched to Miguel's level, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. This song, it's not just lyrics and notes. Tonight, let it be your story. Miguel's voice was steady. It is. Then came the cue. Next up, the heart of this season. The barefoot boy who made the world cry. Miguel Rivera. The crowd roared. Miguel stepped out onto the dark stage alone. A single spotlight beamed down. No dancers. No visual effects. Just a mic, a piano behind him, and the quiet whisper of the crowd holding their breath. The pianist struck the first keys. Miguel stepped into the light. Then he sang. When you try your best but you don't succeed. From the first note, time slowed. There was something raw in his tone, like a quiet ache that trembled beneath every syllable. His voice had matured since his audition. It carried depth, control, vulnerability. People in the audience began to tear up. When you get what you want, but not what you need. Miguel's eyes closed. He gripped the mic tighter. He wasn't singing to the audience. He was singing through his memories, the cold nights in San Mateo when he hugged his knees beneath a broken tarpaulin. The days his stomach growled as he sang for spare change. The face of his papa, smiling weakly, as he sang by the roadside with a rusted guitar. Lights will guide you home. The judge panel was a portrait of stunned silence. Alina wiped her cheek again and again. Judge Ramon, once so cold and hard to impress, had taken off his glasses. His eyes red. His jaw tight. When Miguel sang the chorus, his voice cracked just slightly, yet it made the crowd love him more. There was truth in the imperfection. Power in the fragility. By the final line, "And I will try to fix you," the crowd rose, clapping in rhythm, shouting his name. Miguel opened his eyes and saw a sea of strangers holding lit candles. An audience member had quietly distributed them during the performance. A spontaneous tribute. The stage lights dimmed. Thunderous applause. Miguel bowed low, lips trembling. This time, he smiled. A wide, pure smile that reached his ears. As he left the stage, a quiet voice called from the shadows. Miguel? He turned. An elderly woman, dressed simply in a dusty skirt and blouse, stood near the security rail. Her hands trembled. Her eyes moist. I'm Tita Rosa. Your papa's aunt. He was my boy. Miguel froze. Papa used to talk about you. He said you gave him his first guitar. She nodded, sobbing. He told me once. If Miguel ever sings Hotel California in public, that means he's chasing the light. Tonight, Anik, you are the light. Miguel ran to her, wrapping his arms around her waist. They hugged long and tight, two survivors from the same broken tree, blooming again under the same sky. Backstage, the show's director whispered into a walkie-talkie, "We're adding a tribute reel. Pull clips of Miguel's street videos. Tonight's ending belongs to him." An hour later, social media exploded. Miguel's semi-final performance becomes the most viewed live talent show clip in 24 hours. Coldplay's official account reposts the performance with the caption, "We wrote it. He lived it." A scholarship offer arrives from a London music conservatory. Another from Berkeley. People magazine titles him the soul of Southeast Asia. In the streets of San Mateo, near the old overpass where Miguel once sang for coins, a crowd gathered around a borrowed projector. They watched him, hand in hand. A boy who once sang under rain now soared beneath golden lights, carrying every one of them with him. Miguel stood backstage, his heart thudding gently in his chest. It was finals night. The air was thick with tension, but unlike before, there was no fear in his eyes, only quiet determination. The lights beyond the curtain glowed brighter than ever. Cheers from the live audience echoed like distant waves crashing against his memories. He adjusted the small pin on his shirt, a worn button from his papa's old jacket, which he'd kept all these years. It was his lucky charm, a tiny piece of the past holding him together. The stage manager gave him a nod. Miguel closed his eyes. He whispered to himself, not a prayer, not a plea, just a promise. This time, he wouldn't be singing a classic. He had written something himself. Secretly. Quietly. In his notebook under street lamps. With broken pens and borrowed hope. The host's voice boomed over the speakers. And now, our final performer of the season, the voice that stole the world's heart. Miguel Rivera. The crowd erupted. As Miguel stepped into the spotlight, the stage was empty again. No backup singers. No props. Just a stool, a mic, and a piano. He walked to the piano and sat slowly. Then he looked up, his eyes meeting the darkness beyond the lights. Somewhere out there, maybe, his father was watching. His fingers touched the keys. A soft melody began to fill the room, unfamiliar yet instantly comforting. Then he sang. The lyrics were simple. Honest. Raw. Home is not a rooftop, not four walls and a door. It's the arms that held me even when they're here no more. It's the voices in the shadows saying, you've come so far. It's the ones who gave me candles when I only had the dark. His voice quivered with the first verse but grew stronger, steadier, brighter. The chorus lifted with emotion. You saw a boy, I saw a stage. You gave me love, not just a page. You didn't fix me. You just let me sing. And now I fly without my wings. In the audience, people clutched tissues. The judges had long since given up hiding their tears. Alina had both hands pressed over her heart. Ramon looked down and simply wept, lips trembling. Miguel's voice cracked gently on the last line, but he smiled through it. Not because he missed a note, but because he'd finally felt every one. He stood, bowed low. The silence before applause lasted just long enough to leave the world breathless. Then the room erupted. Every person stood. The cheers weren't wild, but reverent. Like people had witnessed something sacred. As he left the stage, walking through the fog of lights and music, staff members reached out to pat his back, whispering, "You did it, Miguel. That was magic. You've made history." Backstage, Alina waited for him. She didn't say a word, just opened her arms. Miguel ran into them. He didn't ask whether he had one. It didn't matter. Because that night, the world didn't crown a champion, it welcomed a legacy. Outside, on a rooftop in San Mateo, under the moonlight, a group of boys gathered around a small speaker, listening to the broadcast. The youngest looked up and said, "He used to sing here. Right here. On this very roof." And from that night forward, every child who had ever sung into the wind, hoping someone might hear them, believed that maybe, just maybe, the world was finally listening. Storytelling and beyond. Subscribe for more stories that heal, lift, and inspire.